optimal minimalism.
At this altitude, I can run flat out for a half mile before my hands start shaking.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Now would seem an appropriate time.
What if I did the opposite?
I'm a cybernetic organism, living tissue over a metal endoskeleton.
This episode is brought to you by AG1, the daily foundational nutritional supplement that supports whole body health. And I do get asked a lot what I would take if I could only take one supplement. And the true answer is invariably AG1. It simply covers a ton of bases. I usually drink it in the mornings and frequently take their travel packs with me on the road. So what is AG1? AG1 is a science-driven formulation of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food sourced nutrients. In a single scoop, AG1 gives you support for the brain, gut, and immune system. So take ownership of your health and try AG1 today. You will get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription purchase. So learn more, check it out. Go to drinkag1.com/Tim. That's drinkag1, the number 1, drinkag1.com/Tim. Last time, drinkag1.com/Tim. Check it out. Hello, ladies and germs. This is Tim Ferriss, and welcome to another episode of The Tim Ferriss Show, where it is my job to deconstruct world-class performers, whether they are from the worlds of athletics, business, strategy of any type, or fashion, entertainment or otherwise. This episode is a little bit different. It is not going to be a long-form interview where I dissect and deconstruct a world-class performer, or at least not in the usual fashion. Instead, this is a special edition of The Random Show. I am joined by my usual co-host in this capacity, Kevin Rose, at Kevin Rose on Twitter, serial entrepreneur, world-class investor, and that is not an exaggeration. He's one of the best product guys for those in Silicon Valley or tech and investors I know. What makes him unique, perhaps, is an unusual combination, and that is he's very good at early stage investing, very early stage seed investing, and also very good at the public markets. And he's also a all-around wild and crazy guy, which makes for a fun conversation. So we go all over the place. We talk about new favorite books, memory training, multiple wives, or maybe I talk about that, bets for or against virtual reality, and much, much more. So please say hi to us on the socials and enjoy. Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of The Random Show. I think it is episode 477. I'm Tim Ferriss.
And I'm Kevin Rose. Thanks for joining us. It's been a while.
It has been, to be precise. It has been a long while.
Yes.
And we are sitting in your new place.
Just moved in today.
A lot of life changes.
Speaking of, sorry, I swear I've only had 2 glasses of wine. Speaking of Random Show, you hit me up today. Or last night.
I did.
And we're like, hey, let's do a random show. And it was like midnight. And I'm like, you said on Tuesday. And yesterday was Tuesday. I'm like, I'm not getting out of bed to do a random show. So
that would have been very random, though.
But you meant Wednesday.
I did mean Wednesday. And
you're in town for one night.
That's right.
And we're in your spot.
Just a sniper shot in and out. And I'm excited to dig in because we have a bunch of new interests, but we also have new questions.
Yes.
Because I realized when I was just developing my Bambi legs in the podcasting and interview game.
Episode 1
of the Tim Ferriss Show, which we didn't even have a name for at that point, although you nominated Tim Talk Talk. Which
I still think that's the best name, and I think you should rename your show.
Go to hell. Kevin has stuck, and people still refer to it as Tim Talk Talk.
I see that on Twitter from time to time, and I always laugh my ass off every time I see it.
Things have hopefully evolved and not devolved, but I remember you giving me so much shit when I asked you, I put together my list of questions and I asked you if you could be a breakfast cereal, or if you had to be a breakfast cereal, which would you be? And you were like, oh, it's going to be one of those interviews. And I was like, stop busting my balls. I'm nervous already, even though you're my friend. It's my first time recording audio. And so I'm going to, at some point, lob some questions at you that I've asked a lot of my other guests that I don't know your answers to. And it sounds like you have some top secret questions to volley from your side.
We decided to go, before the show, Tim and I spent probably 5-10 minutes putting together kind of just a bullet list of outline stuff that we want to talk about. And you mentioned wanting to do those new kind of refreshed questions on me. And so, of course, I've got to come back to you and do some on you as well because, you know, you're always on the interviewing side of this equation. Why not throw some back to you and see what you come up with? Because I feel like you grill your guests sometimes. You're like, what would you put on a billboard? And they're like, oh, you know, it's really difficult to answer this stuff in real time.
Yeah, some of them are really tough in real time.
I'm curious to see how you're going to do. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how well I can tap dance. I've grown better at the asking, not necessarily the answering of questions. But do you have anything new on your list? And I should also say, just for those people who are wondering at the prep, so we both bullet out a couple of ideas or items that are new for us, whether they're books or gizmos or otherwise, but we don't share those notes with each other beforehand. Otherwise, it would be boring.
That's right. So we tend to leave it to be just like fresh stuff that we just came up with. It's typically stuff that we've used and discovered since the last time we saw each other.
That's right.
And so I've got kind of three things. You want me to kick it off with the first one?
Yes, please.
So this one is actually thanks to you. I called you on the phone and talked to you about this, the TM meditation.
Yeah.
So transcendental meditation is a form of meditation that I hadn't actually heard of until you first brought it up. I have another buddy, Anish, who's been doing it since he was a child. You know Anish. He was at my bachelor party.
I do.
And then also our mutual friend, Dr. Peter Attia. I was just talking to him. I'm like, hey, what are some great ways that you reduce stress in your life? And he's like, oh, I've looked at the literature, like TM. He's trained in it as well, and he's like, you should just go. And he did an introduction to some of the folks over at the center, and I was like, okay, well, why don't I go give this a shot? And I called you up, and I was like, what do you think? And you were like, yeah, go do it.
Well, I was introduced to bring it full circle. So, of course, Peter's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I was convinced to do my first proper training with TM by two other guests. So it was Chase Jarvis and Rick Rubin.
Oh,
specifically,
crazy.
I effectively asked them the same question that you asked Peter, and I just took a while for me to get it through my thick skull that I should try it because of the costs involved and various things. And
it's not cheap.
It's not cheap, and I may hopefully collaborate with some folks involved at the higher levels of TM to change that. We will see. But there are some quirky aspects to it, right? I mean, you sent me a photograph of
my sacrifice,
your flowers and fruit, with the comment, "I feel like I'm joining a cult." So some of it is for a secular person. It's a little tough.
I mean, here's the deal. Like, I grew up religious, and I drank the blood of Christ at communion and whatnot, and like did all of that stuff. So I'm used to, you know, certain formalities around certain things. and, you know, I go to the introduction meeting, which is free, and you sit down and you're like almost in like a church type setting. And, you know, they're like, hey, like, welcome. They kind of start explaining some stuff. And I'm like, okay, this all sounds great. Everything you're saying sounds great. They're like, here's the cost. I'm like, a little pricey, but if it's going to change my life, whatever. And then they're like, by the way, on your first day, I want you to bring 3 pieces of fruit and some flowers for the introduction to like the dude and the offering that you must give him on the table when we burn incense. And I was like, what?
And by the dude, you mean there's a large mural of the dude from The Big Lebowski.
That's right. No, it's by the founder. I never recall the founder's name.
Maharishi?
Maharishi, yes. So, you know, whatever. I'm not going to buy in if it's any kind of religious thing.
Daria's making faces.
She's making faces. But essentially, are we allowed to talk about this, by the way? This is the other thing. They told us like we couldn't talk about any of this stuff. Will they sue us?
I don't think so. I mean, ultimately, this is like I would say a ringing endorsement of the benefits of TM, probably, but there's some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Let's call a spade, and people have talked about it before.
Yeah, so basically, you go into a little room. You
swing a dead cat over your head 13 times. No, you don't do that. I'm kidding.
You do your little ritual sacrifice thing. It's fine. I gave fruit. And that lasts like 30 seconds. And then they give you a mantra. So a mantra, for people that don't know, there's a few different types of meditation. The type that I'm used to is the Headspace variety, which is the app, which is mindfulness, meaning you sit there, you follow your breath, the attention is directed at the in and out flow of your breath, and that's kind of it. So mantra-based meditation is taking a word that doesn't mean anything, and you repeat it over and over and over in your head. And so you sit there for 20 minutes and you take this word, and it's just like, let's say it's cheeseburger, and it's just like cheeseburger, 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 like over and over. And then eventually you enter this somewhat hypnotic state. Did you find that that's kind of where it took you as well?
It does, or it can, I should say. And you can think of it at least, and I'm sure there are people who are experts in this who take issue with the analogy, but you can think of it almost as a white noise machine for a waking state. So if you use a white noise machine to help you get to sleep, let's say, then this would be the equivalent for helping you to achieve a sort of alpha brainwave level of relaxed attentiveness that some people might associate with flow. So it
That's
does
right.
help you to get into a hypnotic state. And where I find it very helpful is if you feel compelled when you've practiced or attempted meditation in the past to kind of swat your thoughts away as if they were like flies buzzing in your face, it can get very, very frustrating. And by repeating a mantra, you are effectively overriding a lot of the internal dialogue or monologue.
Right.
But yes, you can get into a very, very altered state of sorts, enhanced state.
Yeah. So, what's funny is it's a 4-day training course, and I did the first day, and it was literally the fruit sacrifice, then the introduction of the mantra. And by the way, the reason I said it's cheeseburger is like they give you this mantra and you're not allowed to tell it to anyone. It's like private just to you. Later I looked them up online and there's like, 15 of them, so you can just guess which one mine is. Starts with a M. No, I'm just kidding. But essentially you do that, and then I was a little upset. I finished day one and I was like, why did I really pay all this money for this? Like,
Why do I have to say poontang?
Yeah,
over again?
I could just I literally read it on the internet. I can just do this. And I was like, you know what? Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to go back for day 2. And I went back for day 2, and it all made sense after day 2. And I stayed for the entire 4 days. And the reason being is it's not.
And to be clear, when you say 4 days, at least when I went through the process, it's like an hour to 2 hours a day.
I'm talking an hour and a half per day. Yeah. So, in day 2, it's funny because you learn it and it's really easy, but day 2 through 4 is all about helping you get over the little hurdles that appear throughout the entire process. And it's funny how they occur for everyone. It sounds really simple, but as you're doing the mantra, certain things happen. Like all of a sudden for me, I was doing the mantra and I started syncing the mantra with my heartbeat. And I'm like, whoa, that's weird. And then of course that distracts me, takes me away from the mantra. And then I don't know what to do. I'm kind of frozen. And so imagine like that, but there's probably 15 different things that you'll run into that are distractions. And they teach you how to kind of come back to the mantra, how to embrace that stuff. And it's really, that's where the value is.
It's the practical, tactical stuff where there are, I think, 2 chief benefits, at least for me. One is you have someone holding you accountable to meditate for 2 sessions in between the in-person meetings.
Yeah.
In other words, there is a consequence, i.e. embarrassment, to not performing the assigned work.
That's
Whereas when I tried meditation in the past, I'd buy a book. I'd be like, 90% of this makes no sense. I don't understand. But here's a little sidebar. Fine, I'll follow my breath. And then I do it, and I'm like, am I doing this right? I don't know. I feel all these thoughts. I'm no good at this. I'm losing at meditation. I quit.
Right.
And after a few days, I would stop doing it. But when you have someone you're going to meet with each day who is going to want in that hour and a half to talk about your last 2 sessions, do post-game analysis, and help you with the issues that came up,
right,
you feel compelled, given that social pressure of sorts.
Yeah, and it was great. I mean,
and the sunk cost. Quite frankly, I think that if I were to point to a benefit of the payment, although I hesitate to do that, but one of the benefits is it's you in a beneficial way succumb to the sunk cost fallacy. You're like, well, I already paid for it, so might as well do it.
Yeah, and honestly, I asked a ton of questions, got a lot of value out of it. So that was great. And it's been about a month and a half now. I've been practicing and doing 40 minutes of meditation every day, 7 days a week.
2 sessions split into 20 minutes.
2 sessions split into 20 minutes. And my wife, like Daria says, she notices a big difference. I don't know. I mean, I feel a little bit more relaxed, and I certainly Like for me, my pressure points are if too much is going on in my life, meaning if I have a lot of travel combined with work, combined with board meetings, combined with fundraising or whatever's going on, when I hit a certain critical mass, I kind of like break down a little bit. And that's where it's just too much going on. Why are you laughing?
No, I'm laughing because this doesn't happen to anyone else. I don't know why you have this particular defect.
I mean,
No, I'm joking.
I know it happens to you too. So this is seriously, but that hasn't happened as much, and I've been able to weather the storm a lot better. I'm not experiencing any type of effect other than just like I will do the meditation and I will come out of it in a kind of slight daze. In fact, they tell you when you finish the session, the 20-minute session, to spend 3 minutes just kind of slowly reintroducing yourself to the world.
It's like coming up from scuba diving. They're
Right.
like, okay, hold on, you got to equalize.
Exactly. And it's funny because I said, well, one time I didn't have that 3 minutes. I just got up and went. And I felt a little weird afterwards. And the lady that was instructing me said, actually, if that's going to happen and you have to run, you have to go out to someplace, cut back the meditation time and still spend that 3 minutes because it's really important. You go pretty deep inside yourself and you're kind of a little dazed, and people can get headaches or all kinds of things if they come out too fast.
And the very Daria, if they come out too fast, Daria's pointing to a shirt that she had printed for herself, which says "That's what she said,"
And that's why I married my wife. She makes those kind of jokes.
And let's make it more concrete. We were just at dinner. We had a really nice dinner together, and Daria said, "You have been a rock. Like there's this in the best way possible, meaning very stable and a dramatic difference." And I think that for someone who is doing that type of work, it can be, in some, not all cases, difficult to discern the progress, because it's like if you're gaining, say, a half pound of fat a month, and then a decade later, you're going to be pretty fat. But you won't notice
a year later, you'd be pretty fat too.
Well, yeah, that also. But the point being, is a terrible comparison, but it's like the boiling frog. But like you don't notice the improvement because you're exposed to it every day.
Right.
And I noticed a big change in my sleep. In particular, the onset to sleep has changed dramatically. I will be the first to admit I am not as consistent at all with afternoon sessions. So it's mostly for me first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And this particular type of meditation, I would say, is probably not for everyone, but it can be very useful for some people. I think the social accountability, the camaraderie, and also teacher-student relationship was what was most important for me.
Yeah, I like that. I really do like the foundation that they put in place, in that once you pay for the session, it is. Do you remember how much it was? I think it was like $1,200, something like that.
Something like that. It's the cost has decreased over time from like $1,500 to $1,200.
Yeah, but you get to go back whatever you want. So like the teacher was like,
courses.
"Yeah, come back anytime. You don't have to pay anything. Hang out, and I'll help you if you run into any more roadblocks." Like they were really friendly people.
So let me give a couple of suggestions. The first is, and the TM folks are probably going to hate me for this, but you can experiment with this, right? Using some type of mantra. And I hate that term. I think it's very loaded, but you could use a word that is, say, like a 2-syllable word, like nature, right? Like nature.
Well, it's not supposed to mean anything.
It's not supposed to mean anything, but let's not let
why not like Om?
Perfect be the
Om is
enemy.
a very common
You
mantra.
could use Om also for some people who are allergic to yoga, like I was for a long time. They'll have negative associations, so you could use that. I've actually, even though I do have a mantra, I've used nature, that exact example.
What does your mantra start with?
I'm not going to tell you.
You can say the letter it starts with.
I'm going to lie to you. It starts with Z. I'm such a hyper-analytical person. I enjoy having a few superstitions that I hold on to.
Kool-Aid. You totally drank the
No,
Kool-Aid.
I also don't like using red pens for like.
Are you serious?
Signing anything. Yeah, I won't use red pens. I don't like cheersing.
Who even has
I
a
don't
red
like
pen?
cheersing with water.
I don't like cheersing with water either. That's just weird.
Right.
I'm not doing it for a superstition reason. It just
Right.
feels
So
strange.
a couple of alternatives for people.
No, I'm not. What she was saying, I'm doing it for superstition. I just don't like the idea of like everyone drinking alcohol and I don't have a glass of alcohol. No, it's not superstition.
It's pure heart
It's
science.
like I like alcohol. I want a glass of alcohol.
Okay, we won't belabor that. But for people who are interested in experimenting with this kind of thing, you can sort of bootleg an imperfect variation of it and experiment. I do think that people would derive benefit from it. But like you said, having someone who can answer very specific questions, like, okay, you travel a lot. What are you going to do if room service knocks on the door, comes in when you're in the middle of meditation? Like, what are the options? What is optimal? Et cetera, et cetera. And
Totally.
going through all those contingencies is very valuable.
Well, and
but
you
you
mentioned-
pointed out one, Headspace has worked tremendously
Yeah.
well for a lot of my friends and a lot of people listening to this, for that matter. And
Calm is another one that's worked
Calm is
well.
another. There are others who have enjoyed, and I've enjoyed, quite frankly. I'm not a purist about it. I've used guided meditations from Tara Brach, who was introduced to me by Maria of Brain Pickings. Popova, Maria. I need to do a refresher on your name pronunciation. I apologize. What was it? Popova. There we go. We need Daria here as like a consistent fact checker. And the guided meditations by Tara Brach, Brach, are fantastic. She's also been on the podcast. Sam Harris has some great guided meditations. I think it's samharris.org. And there are many options out there for starting your day off in a relaxed, non-reactive, calmly effective state. Mm-hmm. And those are some of the options, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will add on to that, and I agree with you. I would say if you're going to try mantra-based meditation, try to pair up with a friend or someone that you know that's done it before that can help you get over those hurdles if you don't want to pay for the class. The nice thing about paying for the class, the only nice thing about paying that much money is it truly is a forcing function to make you take it seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to day 2 because I was kind of pissed.
Yep.
And I was like, why did I pay this much for it? I'm going to get something out of it, you know? And then I went, I was like, okay, actually, I get it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the way with all courses.
Well, it's true with a lot of skills also that are very frustrating in the beginning, right? Like,
Sure.
let's take slacklining as an example.
Oh, God, I tried that at your house. That
So
was difficult.
slacklining is difficult, and most people completely lose interest and quit after the first or second sessions because neurologically they're not capable of the neurological and muscular control and coordination.
Yeah.
You need a certain, this is my, at least.
I mean, you saw me.
Your
Like
legs
I was
just go
having
berserk.
seizures.
Yeah.
Like-
So you require a certain number of sleep cycles, and as far as I can tell, to sort of consolidate this like procedural knowledge, right? Meditation in this particular case, I think is very, very similar. It's like going out and snowboarding and like, I don't know of anyone first day snowboarding who's like, that was so much fun.
Right, totally.
You just eat shit and
You
catch
eat snow
edges
the
and
entire
smash your
time.
head on the slopes or your ass and tailbone for the entire time.
Right.
Right. And if in the world of meditation, that's where 95+% of people quit.
Yep.
But if they were forced to do 5 days, they would see the potential, right?
That's
they would
right.
have one good run or one good stretch and they'd be like, okay, now I'm hooked. A
That's
lot
right.
like surfing.
That's why I like the Take 10 from Headspace.
Yeah.
Where they give you 10 days, 10 minutes a day. That was the first time where I got through all 10 days and I was like, It was about day 8 where I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm coming out of this more relaxed. I'm feeling stronger as an individual after I do this. So anyway, we don't have to keep talking about meditation the entire time.
Yeah, last
but-
thing I would say is it's very similar to physical training for non-reactivity. So if you're interested and have been interested in the Stoic philosophical episodes that have been on this podcast before related to Seneca and so on, a number of episodes by Ryan Holiday, if that interests you as an operating system for thriving in high stress environments, that meditation is sort of one of the or mindfulness, which both terms bother me, but that type of non-reactivity, training that mentally as you would train yourself physically, is a foundational skill, a meta skill that allows all the other pieces of the puzzle to function well.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Yeah, that was mine. What's yours?
What's mine? Well, I'll give a couple of specifics. One is a fiction book that I just finished, and I said fiction with that particular emphasis because I've almost always been a nonfiction snob in the sense that I've taken a very hoity-toity position with fiction, which is, well, if I just want to make stuff up, I can do that myself. I want to
feel
get
the
something.
same way,
I want to get
dude.
something concrete out of this.
I know,
If I'm going
I
to
feel like
invest
it's a
the
waste of
time into
time.
reading a goddamn book, it needs to be valuable, actionable takeaways. This and the other thing.
Yes.
I've realized a few errors in that thinking. The first is that just like as is the case with movies, there are movies for entertainment. There's movies for there are movies or TV shows just for complete stress relief, right? Like a Dumb and Dumber or something like that, which are brilliant in their own way. And then there are documentaries that you might watch, like Fog of War, to learn something or two. And I think that's very true with reading. Not only that, but that you can better remember and incorporate some of the lessons from fiction because there are stories well told, and we were programmed to be story remembering machines. The truth and the truths that are embedded in fiction often are more utilitarian than the dense nonfiction that is just going to fall through your brain or out of your brain like sand through the fingertips. That's been my experience. So I've actually realized that fiction can have not only a rejuvenating, relaxing effect by turning off your problem-solving apparatus, but you can actually incept yourself or embed truths that are helpful. And one book that was actually recommended by our mutual friend, Chris Sacca, who's been on this podcast, on track to be, or if not already, the most successful venture capitalist of all time based on his first fund. The novel is How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia. I think I'm getting the title right. And I'm blanking on the author's name, Pakistani author. That's as I remember it. And it is a fascinating novel. It's beautifully written. And I've never seen such incredibly glowing reviews of any book. I mean, it's just woven together in such a powerful way. And what makes it very, very unique is the voice that is used and the perspective. So the entire book is written from first person. What I mean by that is it's like you awake to pain in your left eye. You're laying down under your mother's cot with your head on the dirt.
Oh, I like this. This sounds cool.
And I was told about this by Chris.
It sounds like a video game almost.
It does. And Chris told me about this, and I thought to myself afterwards, I should really read that. And the second thought was that conceit, like that way of writing the book, will be really fascinating and cute for like 10 pages, and then it's going to drive me insane.
Right.
And it didn't at all. You just seamlessly become this character. And I don't want to kind of spoil it, but it's written as a parody of a self-help book, which is awesome and hilarious. And there's a lot of truth and a lot of sort of timeless wisdom embedded in this book.
Is it on Audible or just?
Oh, I'm sure it is. Thank you. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Daria. How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia, a novel, Mohsin Hamid, Mohsin, last name Hamid.
The reason we're not getting our facts right is I have no internet at the house right now.
Yeah,
so Daria's looking things up on her phone.
And here's the quote, and there are many like this, from Michiko Kakutani of the New York Times. Audacious Hamid reaffirms his place as one of his generation's most inventive and gifted writers. It's a beautifully written book. So
cool.
If people are looking for a shift in the gears, perhaps a break from the relentless pursuit of dry facts, then I think this is a fantastic way to spend a few days. I got so into this. I read this book in maybe 3 days, tops. I think 2 days, probably. Read it in a weekend. It's fantastic. So that would be the most recent read that I'm into. I'll bring up one other one that's really weird, or maybe an odd choice and an impulsive purchase, which is a book of poetry. I'm not a poetry reader, and I was in a Barnes and Noble at Union Square in New York City, and there was a very really thin collection of poetry sitting there called I might need Daria again. I think it's Night with Exit Wounds, and I think the author is Ocean Vuong.
That's a great title, by the way.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's what caught me. And the last name, I'm pretty sure is Vietnamese, Vuong, and so I got it right. And it's a Night with Exit Wounds. And I was like, whoa.
Night Sky
Night Sky with Exit Wounds. Thank you. And I opened up this book. It's very small. And I started reading one poem in the morning when I wake up and one at night. Or if I feel stressed, I use it just like I use fiction to short circuit the pro-con hyper-analytical what-if brain that can drive me completely bonkers. And it works really well. Now, I will warn people what I didn't know about this, and I don't think it would have affected my purchase, but this author is very gay and very explicit. So there's some pretty hardcore action in this book. So if you're reading along and you're like, whoa, hey now, like that
Tim's
will
into some crazy shit.
That will probably happen a few times, but the language. And some of the poems I don't like at all. And that's okay. But like every third or fourth I read, and this is a first for me, the wording is so evocative of unusual imagery, like the night sky with exit wounds, that it twists my brain. It's almost like mental yoga. Because my brain struggles to piece together an image that makes sense. And a lot of these poems don't seem to make a lot of sense, but there are 4 or 5 turns of phrase that stretch my ability to visualize in such a way that I find it just opens doors to perception or gives me other lenses through which I can view the rest of my day.
Oh, sweet.
Sounds odd, I know, and I've never really read or pursued poetry in this way, but very impulsive chancing. Very impulsive purchase based on chancing across this book. And I've really enjoyed it. So I think it's going to reignite my interest in certain types of poetry, like those that were introduced to me by Rolf Potts, the writer and author of Vagabonding, one of my favorite books. So that's to be continued. I don't think I will become a poet. I don't have sort of the hubris to think that I have the capacity for that, but also the way this book is formatted is so odd as someone who's accustomed to narrative fiction or nonfiction, because the words will be scattered around the page for one poem. Then the next will be an unbroken paragraph of text with no punctuation. And it's just so jolting that I find it serves as a pattern interrupt for me. Just kind of like,
it's almost like an art in a way.
Yeah,
like you're
totally
getting
is.
a little piece of art on every page.
It absolutely is. So that's been an interesting experiment, unintended experiment of mine recently.
That's awesome.
The last I would say is maybe not the last, but probably would jump into some questions after this, is that I am going to be, as promised, donating at least $100,000 to psychedelic research at top universities this year, 2016. And I've already raised, I think it was $90-something thousand for Johns Hopkins, and looking at the use of psilocybin for treatment-resistant depression. That's depression that has not been addressable by any conventional means. And I'm going to be doing more work and funding research. So thank you, first and foremost, to everybody who contributed to that campaign. It was a huge success. Things are already underway. I'm very excited about what will be discovered that can be used in that trial.
What is that? Give me the quick 30 seconds for people that aren't familiar with this. Like, what is the trial? What are you testing? I get that it's depression that can't be treated with anything else, but what does the actual trial look like? What do they receive?
So the structure of the trial. So if people want to read all the details, they can go to crowdrise.com/Tim Ferriss. The trial has actually been upgraded. So what happened? It will be relatively small sample size. So I'm pulling this from memory, but I think it's 6 to 12 people.
Can I be one of the?
Unfortunately not, unless you want to move to Baltimore and fill out a very long questionnaire and qualify for it. But the purpose is to determine whether, I'm pulling this from memory, so I encourage people to check out the website, a single or several administrations of standardized psilocybin. And if I had, this is again totally guessing, but if I'm guessing, probably 0.25 to 0.35 mgs per kg, milligrams per kilogram, which would translate to what would generally be considered a heroic dose. And if I'm getting this wrong, then you can go to my blog and leave a comment and let me know. But to see the effects, measurable effects, and persistence of effects of psilocybin in patients who have not responded, chronic depression that has not been addressable or treatable with other pharmaceutical or therapeutic means. Mm-hmm. And they will be also using, again, pulling from memory, this was a few months ago, fMRI and other imaging tools to look at, to try to determine how, if there is a demonstrable and statistically significant effect, how psilocybin has this particular effect. Mm-hmm. And there is good science and more science on the way to indicate that there are some incredibly powerful applications of psilocybin, for instance, in the treatment of different types of addiction. And it's not a panacea. It can't be used for everything. But in terms of nicotine addiction or alcoholism, tremendously effective, at least based on the sort of preliminary data that we have thus far.
So when you're administering this psilocybin to someone,
can I finish one thing?
Yeah, go
so
for it.
The purpose of me bringing it up was not to say, hey guys, I'm donating a bunch of money to psilocybin. Please give me a gold star. It was to say that I'm doing a second campaign.
Oh, sweet.
And I'm going to be, instead of using crowdfunding, because I want, as everyone listening who's a long-term listener knows, to run an experiment. I want to figure out not only what works in the scientific arena with these compounds or not, but what are the most effective non-traditional ways of fundraising for scientific studies. So I'm going to be, and have already designed and will be selling a number of themed t-shirts that should be available by the time you hear this. And you can check those out by going to 4hourworkweek.com/mushroom, which is traditionally where one finds psilocybin. Not all mushrooms, so don't go out foraging yourself. That's a good way to get dead. But 4hourworkweek.com/mushroom. And I'm curious to see if merchandising is a more efficient way to raise, say, $100,000 for scientific research than crowdfunding, and in turn comparing those to the usual approach, which is a director of development for, say, fill in the blank university or fill in the blank nonprofit has a dinner at someone's house where they invite a bunch of muckety mucks and then they have one-on-one conversations infused with a lot of wine to convince people to donate X amount of dollars.
$15,000 to $25,000, and that's what you hope for.
Or you try to land a whale, right?
Right.
And I want to see if there are more elegant ways of doing that.
Yeah, the t-shirt looks pretty cool. You're wearing it right now.
Yeah, I'm wearing one of the shirts right now. It's very comfortable. I spent a disturbing amount of time picking out the materials for these shirts. I'm just a real stickler. It's always bugged me when let me give two examples. So I've seen some shirts I would have been totally down to wear that are, now these are from, say, South by Southwest, where like every startup is giving away free shirts, which is generally a waste of money, by the way, startups. But some of them are so comfortable that I've worn ridiculous shirts just because they're a good material.
The problem is they always give you extra large,
but they give you like extra large moo shirts with like a 20 by 20 inch logo that makes the front all stiff and plasticky. It's just like, who is going to wear that?
Yeah.
You tried to cut corners to make a minimally expensive shirt, and as a result, you wasted all of it. Right? So it's like you spent whatever it is. I'm making these numbers up, but like you spent $5 or like $2 a shirt.
It's more like 10. But
right.
yeah.
So you spent like $10 a shirt. You did 1,000 shirts because you didn't want to spend 15,000. And now that 10,000 is going to be entirely wasted because no one's going to wear it. Whereas you could have just spent 50% more and actually have some measurable ROI of some type. Anyway, sorry, it's a pet peeve. I fucking hate. I have no fashion sense. I wear a lot of t-shirts. I think a lot about t-shirt comfort.
I have a question about mushrooms.
Yes.
So, the typical college Kevin, that has experience with mushrooms is, you get a chocolate, you get a bag, something like that. When you do these trials, how do they measure this? Are they grinding up mushrooms and weighing them out? Like, how do they actually administer?
My understanding is that it's synthesized.
Okay.
It could be extracted, but this is actually one of the largest constraints I mean, with a compound that is effectively as tracked and regulated as like plutonium, it's scheduled in the same class as cocaine and heroin. So it is extremely difficult to get the approvals on many different levels, including, IRB for human trials, to initiate this type of research. But let's just say you get all the approvals. And I'm making these numbers up. I wish I had a few people here to help me with accuracy, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, say that you get the approvals and then you want to get, say, 5 grams of psilocybin. It's something crazy, like $15,000 a gram to get a hold of it because there are no economies of scale. Since the
Who's growing it?
The research
it's not being grown. It's all
synthesized or extracted. I don't know specifically. I should, but so there's a nonprofit. Pretty sure it's a 501c3 called. Daria, maybe if you could help me out here. I think it's USONA, USONA, or maybe USANA, which has, I believe they're behind this, has purchased a very large quantity in bulk so that they can then distribute at cost to researchers. It's actually a really brilliant approach. So, and doing this all through legitimate legal means. So they have all the necessary clearances. But what this does is it removes one of the largest constraints currently, which is a capital constraint. Right? Universities have fundraising has to be allocated. If you have a 6-person study and it's going to cost whatever it is, an additional 50 to 100 grand, even if all your research is well planned, even if you get all of the proper boxes checked, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. Yeah. So this will in part remove that limitation. So it should greatly improve the number of researchers who are performing studies using psilocybin, which is very exciting.
That's great. Yeah, the first time I'd read about it being used in research was probably about 6 months to 8 months ago. There was a study that was done. I don't know if you heard about this in New York, actually. This kid that was actually studying to become a doctor came down with cancer. And he was having absolutely horrible anxiety. And he knew how to check himself because he was pre-med. And so he was like rubbing his lymph nodes all the time and like really freaking out to the point where the doctors were like, you need to stop rubbing your lymph nodes. He was causing rashes where he was rubbing them to check for cancer, like just went off the deep end. And they had this study. He took part, he swallowed these capsules or whatever. They had this psilocybin and knocked out his anxiety 100%. He's even though he still had, at the time, like stage 4 cancer, he was just okay with dying at that point.
Well, this is one of the areas that is very active. I mean, very being relative to such a controlled substance is end of life anxiety or depression for as in one instance, terminal cancer patients. And so there's actually a very good article written some time ago by Michael Pollan called The Trip Treatment, which was in The New Yorker. Very much worth reading and talks a good deal about this. So that is one type of study that I'm looking to and will be funding more of. And there are actually 2 on deck. And I think it's very important to fund studies that are easily defended at this point, at this nascent stage of research with a very unfairly scheduled compound. You have to really be on the up and up and be on best behavior and have as many sort of assurances and insurances as possible to ensure that you can defend a study, not just scientifically, but politically, right? So these particular populations in the early stages are important to choose wisely. And it's very hard to say, like, fuck the cancer patient who's going to die. Right. Like, let that guy have incredible anxiety and depression. Very, very hard to attack that. And similarly, I find it very compelling to look at the treatment-resistant depression, right? Something that has not responded to other medical options. Yeah. to date, or
Well, I think you can
or veterans with PTSD.
Don't you feel like you can use kind of marijuana as a template here? Like they've been very successful at creating cannabis-related compounds to treat and help cancer patients with pain and other things. That was kind of like the foot in the door strategy to kind of open the door to further research and other things.
Potentially, definitely. And I've spoken with I've spoken with some people who have had very deep involvement on the sort of political and legislative side with cannabis. But yes, I do think there are lessons to be learned, both things to do and things not to do.
Yeah.
So that's something that I continue to be very passionate about. So if you want some super comfy, they'll make your nipples hard, but in a good way. T-shirts, go to 4hourworkweek.com/mushroom. And one is very subtle, one is not so subtle, and you can decide if you want to sport some team colors. And all of the proceeds, I'm not keeping any of it. All of my proceeds, 100%, are going directly to research. So that is something I'm very much looking forward to.
Awesome. All right, so I have one quick little book, and then we can move into the Q&A. Does it sound good?
Let's do it.
All right, so the book that I'm halfway through right now, and I hate to recommend something when I'm only halfway through it, but I'm really enjoying it so far, is called Moonwalking with Einstein. Have you read it?
I haven't, but I know a good deal about it. Joshua Foer?
Yeah, so it's essentially, he was a writer that eventually went on to, well, he was covering national memory champions. And so he was assigned this beat. He thought he was just going to write a single article about these memory champions. And then he got pulled into actually performing and learning the tricks of the trade to become a memory champion.
Now, memory champion includes things like memorizing the order of the cards in a shuffled deck.
That's right.
And
or a unpublished poem handed to you, names and faces of like 50-some people. They hand you like these cards with names and faces, and you get like a minute to memorize all of them.
Digit strings, maybe?
Random strings of digits. Just it's insane stuff that for someone like me that has a really horrible memory was like attracted to this book.
Yeah.
And so, kind of where I'm at right now, they talk about this idea, I'm sure you've heard this before, of a memory palace. Do you know much about this?
I know all about it.
Okay, so the
loci technique.
Yeah, give your take on it. I'm curious.
A memory palace, I used to be really, really into this stuff. And also, I don't know if he's popped up yet in the book, but Ed Cook, who's the coach in Moonwalking with Einstein, or at least one of the coaches, is a very close friend of mine.
No way.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And he has been on the podcast talking about memory stuff.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Absolutely.
How did I miss that episode? That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. He's great. And we did it when I was on the West Coast and he was in London. So he had plenty of booze. It was great. And he's hilarious. He's a hilarious Brit to start with.
They talk about them drinking in the episode and going out.
It's no joke.
And like using it to hit on girls and stuff by memorizing.
I mean, Ed is hilarious. So you should definitely check out the episode. But he... So the Memory Palace. Memory Palace has been used for ages in one form or another in many different cultures. And unless I'm getting this wrong, it's also called the loci technique, which means location. And the way it's used is very simple. You have a predetermined location or route that you are familiar with.
That's right.
And you can then, in the process of giving yourself a tour of this location in a predetermined, say, clockwise fashion around the perimeter of the inside of a concert hall, or walking from your front door to your favorite coffee shop where you pass 16 different buildings and a bunch of different landmarks and so on, you can place items that you want to remember along that route in a particular order.
Right.
And that allows you to do some very interesting things. Not only can you remember things by using imagery, which we're definitely visual creatures, you can also recall them out of order. So somebody could give you, and let me take one step further. So if you wanted to remember, I used to do this as a party trick. In college, I was really into this stuff. For a very brief flash in time, I was a neuroscience major. I was very interested in how to stretch the capacity of cognition. And what you can do is take the abstract and convert it into the concrete. Ideally, into the form of images. And you can do that with numbers. For instance, you could take the numbers from 1 to 100, right? So 1, 2, 3, then you have like 21, 73, whatever it might be. Convert the numbers 0 to 9. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 into specific letters. All right. So let's just say 0 is S or Z. 1 is T or D, which both have 1 downstroke, right? 3 is M, three downstrokes. 4 is R, let's just say, like 4, last letter R.
Right.
Okay. And so on. And then let's just say you decide well in advance that that 12, as an example, is tin, right? So T and then N, 2 downstrokes. So tin. And so anytime you have a 12, it's automatically tin. And maybe that's the Tin Man. All right. And so let me show you where this goes. So let's just say you have, this is what I used to do. You have a route from your front door to your coffee shop, and somebody gives you a $1 bill, $5 bill, 10 and a 20. And you say, okay, I'm going to memorize the serial code numbers on all of these and give them back to you. The way you would do that is the way I did it, at least, is I would take pairs of numbers and go in 4s. So let's say my first stop, I walk out the door and there's a yellow fire hydrant. That's the first kind of landmark that I pass. So if the first 4 numbers are like 1 to, just making this up, like K's, 7-0. Right, I'm making that up. So the reason I said K is that 7 is a K, and then 0 is S or Z, like I said. So 1, 2, 7, 0. All right, so tin, I have Tin Man. 7, 0, I'm just making this up. Let's say it's, Kaz would be 1, right? So Kaz, in my mind, I associate with this guy named Bill Kazmaier, who was the world's strongest man champion for ages. Just a complete beast. I know what he looks like. So now I have the Tin Man and Kazmaier, Bill Kazmaier, Kaz, fighting around this yellow fire hydrant. Okay, now I have 4 numbers. Boom, I can move on to the next one. And by doing that, you can get to the point very, very quickly where you're memorizing 100+ random numbers at a time.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
So I'll give you my very first exercise in the book that I came upon is that it's the same idea. This time you picture your childhood house, and everyone tends to know their childhood house pretty well, or a location that you know quite well. You lived there for a long time. And they start you off at the sidewalk. So you're standing on the sidewalk right by your mailbox. And so you think you're going to put an item down right there. And so in this case, he wants you to memorize like 15 different items on a grocery shopping list. And the first thing is pickled garlic. And so you put a glass of pickled garlic right there when you're walking in, right on the corner. You visualize the glass. You visualize how it tastes in your mouth. The logo on the outside, the type of screw down cap that it has. And the more connections you can make to how it feels, how it tastes, the size of it, what it looks like, the stronger of reinforcement it is in your brain. And so that is one location. So just like you pick next one up is like, by your garage door or either the front door. Next one is, inside the house in your kitchen or whatever comes next. And so you pick these 10 different locations. You place one object down at each location. And sure enough, like I can go back days later and tell you exactly where the pickled garlic was, right?
And I shouldn't say anyone, but almost anyone can do this. And what I used to do, I was lazy. I didn't want to use, so if you use the same location over and over and over and over again, I found at least that there was a fair amount of interference. Mm-hmm. And I would get confused because I'd recall something that I already put in a specific place. So what I would do if I was sitting in, the equivalent of like a bar on Princeton campus, hanging out with somebody, and they're like, I heard you do some weird memory shit. Like, hey, dance for me, monkey. And I'd be like, okay. and so I would actually look around the room that I was sitting in, and I would place wherever within the direction I happened to be facing, and I would place the images around the room. And what was so wild about that is that it was so unique a signature. It was so unique a frame that I could see the person 2-3 days later And I'd be like, hey, do you still have that 5 in your wallet? I'd be like, you want the serial code backwards? And they'd be like, what? And people can get to that level of proficiency within a week or 2 of practice. It's not complicated.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a great book. I'm enjoying it so far. If you're looking to improve your memory, there's a bunch of little tricks that they're starting to unveil about halfway through the book. It's been a fun read, and it's also on Audible too. That's how I got it.
I've heard great things about it. There's another book for those of you who want a complement that I found extremely helpful. And I believe the author, I haven't seen the book in probably 20 years, but I think it's Higbee is the last name, Higbee, Your Memory and How to Improve It. Fairly sure I'm getting that right, or partially right.
Cool.
And that is
check that one out as well.
That is a tremendous resource because in my, I'd say, sophomore year, all of the recreational reading I did was related to mnemonic devices and studying this type of, some people would call it artificial enhancement of memory.
That's so funny. We didn't even know this when I sat down. Like, you didn't even know I was going to bring this book up.
No, I had no idea.
I had no idea.
I mean, there's another one. There's another book that's just a description of basically a supermind called Mind of a Mnemonist, like mnemonic, MNEM, mnemonist. You can figure it out. Mind of a Mnemonist by A.J. Luria, and talks about synesthesia and all this kind of crazy stuff. Just Rain Man like.
That's awesome.
Abilities and beyond, which is I thought was very inspiring, but it also highlighted that when you have those types of gifts, it's often a very mixed bag.
Yeah.
You have a lot of issues.
Actually, they bring that up a lot in this book. They walk through a couple profiles of individuals that have had more or less perfect memories. And it's very daunting not to be able to forget certain things. It actually has really bad, like you want to be able to forget certain things. Like we're built to forget certain things.
Yeah.
And it shows the consequences there, and they're not pretty.
No, they're not, which is why when I look at technology and living in Silicon Valley as I do, and the perspective of memory enhancement, using technological means, and I think that there's a lot of promise in developing some of these technologies, which are well in development at this point. I mean, well in development. I mean, this is not
You're talking
science
about
fiction.
The low voltage.
No, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about TDCS, which would be the transcranial direct current stimulation.
Sounds
Am I getting
right.
that right? No, I've experimented with that.
Have you?
I have.
Gosh, we could just keep going on.
We could just keep going.
Q&A.
Yeah, we'll do Q&A, and if you guys want to talk more about cognitive enhancement and memory, we can certainly do that.
We should do another
there's a
random show
great.
on just
Actually,
that.
I have another recommendation for people, which is: have you guys seen Black Mirror?
No.
Oh my God, you
I
haven't
saw
seen Black Mirror?
Swan. Wait, I did see Black. You mean the little miniseries?
The mini-series that's like the
Yeah.
Twilight Zone based on technology. Oh.
The first one was just kind of like
The first one is creepy and gross.
It's creepy and gross.
But I really enjoyed it. There's some very good episodes.
the one where I watched the one where the president's like daughter gets kidnapped or whatever.
Yeah, that's the first. I think that's the first one.
I think that's the first one.
It's a mind trip, but there's one episode about a not too distant future where you can replay memories that are because your waking reality is being recorded through your eye, and you can replay them or project them for people, rewind, search for certain things. I don't think that we're that far away.
That's crazy.
But it definitely highlights some of the risks involved.
I mean,
with
that could be amazing, but it also could be really horrible.
I think it could be both. Will be both. All right, Q&A.
Q&A, let's do it.
You want to take a stab first?
I'm gonna start first. This is kind of fun. I get to interview you on your podcast. I guess the random shows are a shared show, but this is more or less your channel. So here we go. What is one illegal substance that you've tried that has changed you for the better? Ooh, got Tim on this one.
Yeah, okay. Psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
Yeah,
that's your number one.
That would be, I would say that was I had a number of very transformative and formative experiences with psilocybin that were, I think, the tipping point for certain decisions and reprogramming.
What did it do for you? What's the thing that clearly, as mentioned just a few minutes ago with the research that you want to do, something happened. Something happened and that it changed you.
Yeah.
What was the change that happened there?
The change, I would say I've always been a worrier. I've always had a fair degree of anxiety, which is not uncommon among A-type personalities. And
This is me to the T.
Well, I heard at one point, I want to know the attribution on this. So somebody please let us know. Just hit us up on the Twitters at T Ferris, at Kevin Rose.
Rose.
Let us know. But this expression that I heard, which rang so true to me, was anxiety is being trapped in the future, and depression is being trapped in the past. So if you're a planner, if you're a control freak, what are you doing? You're constantly planning. What if this? What if that? Contingency A, contingency B. Makes you a fucking stress case.
Dude, that's me.
Yeah. So, and it manifests in different ways, right? Some people get angry. Some people start losing their temper. Other people develop physical symptoms. Some type of, whether it's any GI discomfort, acid reflux, whatever it might be, right?
Acid reflux, I've had it all.
Yeah. So what my experience is that at sufficient dose, and this is something you really need to do with proper supervision, and I'm not just saying that as ass covering sort of liability lip service. There are many cases of people using psychedelics in the wrong circumstances and dying. Like, you can make very bad decisions, step out in front of traffic, you can jump out of a window. There are many different ways that you can horribly injure or kill yourself if this is not used in a responsible way.
Overdosing from the psilocybin, right?
No, it's from making very poor decisions because you think you can fly or something like that.
Or drive your car or something stupid.
Right, all terrible ideas. So you need proper supervision. But with all those caveats, let's use a comparison. I think we've all had the experience of opening up a computer. Let's say you're using Chrome, doesn't really matter. You have 30 tabs open.
Yes.
And you're running out of storage. Yeah, okay, I'm looking at Kevin's computer right now. It looks just like mine. So you have like 30 tabs open.
That's at least 30.
You have 30 tabs open. Warning, startup disk almost full. Oh, shit. What do I do? And then Dropbox is syncing. Why is my computer running so slow? Oh, Slack's also on. And not necessarily with the Mac, but with something else. It's like, why is my system so goddamn slow? Oh, the antivirus is on.
You have antivirus on a Mac?
I don't. I said on a non-Mac.
Okay.
For me, what a high dose or moderate to high dose psilocybin experience does is it serves as a hard reboot. It basically just cleans that entire system, flushes the cache, and allows me to regain a sort of 30,000 foot view sanity in view of larger pictures and my most important priorities, and remove all of that noise. And the anxiolytics, so the anxiety decreasing and sort of depression, which I've also battled with, suppressing effect, for me, the first time I used it lasted, I want to say 3 to 6 months. It was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable how persistent it was. And so I would say that is my answer.
That's fascinating. That's awesome. Good answer.
Thanks. So I'm going to ask a few questions that I don't think I got around to asking the first time.
All right.
When you hear the word successful, who's the first person who comes to mind and why?
Oh, I would probably say Philip Rosedale.
Okay. Who's Philip and why?
So he created Second Life way back in the day, the virtual world Second Life. And I have interviewed him on my show Foundation back in the day. I had a podcast called Foundation. You can still find it. I think it's foundation.bz, where I interviewed a bunch of entrepreneurs several years ago. And the reason that I like him is on a couple fronts. One, I feel that he is a very creative person that doesn't it fully accepts risk and just goes in head first, and is willing to try really wild and crazy ideas and really doesn't care if they fail, and always has done that throughout his entire career and been very successful at it. And he continues to do that today. And I just, I really admire people that aren't afraid of failure and willing to try big, bold things. I think like Elon Musk would be an easy answer on this front because he's trying so many really cool, big, bold ideas. But
founders of Google, another example.
Yeah, the founders of Google. But
It's Larry Page who said, the one of the things that people miss is that if you're, and I'm paraphrasing here, but if you aim big enough, it's very hard to fail completely. Like you take something from it, or you learn lessons that then you can parlay into the next thing that is successful.
I think that the problem I have with the founders of Google, and I've had the pleasure of meeting these guys, and I think I'm not knocking them at all. They're really brilliant guys, like clearly have created an amazing organization that continues to do great work. The issue I have is that, and the reason I like Philip and I picked him over like the founders of Google.
You're mad about your AdSense account.
They banned my AdSense account. No, seriously, it's because that Philip has these ideas that are just so crazy. Like you'll have to go back and listen to my other podcasts about like how to manage people and how to manage projects and how to get groupthink to come together and create beautiful things. And it's just they're kind of out of this world ideas. And I'm attracted to that. For some reason, I like the really crazy thinkers. Like I just had Jason Fried on my podcast that I do for the Journal podcast that I do. And he has created an amazing startup. But he was like, we were talking about the culture that he creates at his company. One of the things that he said is that I want to pay people for getting 8 hours of sleep. Like, and he wants to track that. Like you come in with your Fitbit, you auth in your account and it shows that you slept a full 8 hours and you get paid a bonus. Like that's amazing. Like he really cares about how can I take care of the entire life cycle of an individual in ways that I've never heard about before. So those are the types of ideas that aren't just, how can we create a better browser? How can we create a self-driving car? They're just really, I don't know. I'm
smirking because I was thinking with a Fitbit, you could try to pay people for having like an hour of sex a day.
That you can, as well.
Has an accelerometer. You should be able to figure it out.
But it's this.
That's true. You'd have to wear a belt while you were boning, I guess.
There's
Daria's question was, where would you attach it? No,
there
that's
could be
true,
a Fitbit cock ring or something. I guess you could do. So no, seriously. Let me say one last thing on this topic, and then we can move on. But
the butterfly.
Yeah, my head all messed up now. The last thing though is that I think that in being a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley for so many years, like we see the same pitches over and over. And you see modifications of, hey, I'm the Uber for this. Hey, I'm the Twitter for that.
It's just the
hey,
incremental.
I'm the MySpace for this.
Like, to also ran stuff.
It's the Peter Thiel like true 0 to 1 jump. Like those big ideas that are new and beautiful and ugly and scary and all those things that you find them so rarely in founders. And I like those types of founders, and so that's why he came to mind.
Yeah, and Philip also has a tremendous amount of stamina. I mean, he's been in the game for a long time. And
yeah.
he knows how to kind of modulate. And I'm not going to say, I don't think pacing is the right word, but he's been very consistent.
Big time meditator too.
Yeah.
Invented his own form of meditation. I'm not joking.
What characterizes it? What?
He counts to like, what was it? It's more than 3,000. It gets to like 10,000 a day. So he does mantra based, but based on counting.
And he just single digits, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we were sitting there and he's like, yeah, I'm at 587 right now. And he's
wait, he does it
every day.
No, wait, but as he's doing other activities? Oh my God, that sounds difficult.
He doesn't stop down to like do it. He'll like have like
so
3
it'll be like
minutes.
a conference call and he's at like 6,737.
Right, and then he stops and then he goes, does if he has a minute, he does an extra 100.
Oh, I see. Picks up.
Yeah, picks up.
That sounds so stressful.
It totally does to me, but it works for him.
Yeah, hey, whatever works.
Yeah, so anyway. All right, next question. Let's bang through this. We got it's after midnight now.
All right.
If you could, that one I kind of already asked. Well, let me ask it again. If you could change any law, what would it be? And you can't say drugs.
If I could change any law, what would it be? And I can't talk about
You asked me
mind-altering substances.
You asked me what my favorite breakfast cereal was on podcast 1. So this is
That's true. No, I asked
that
you
was a
even
hard
an
one.
even worse question. I asked you if you could be a breakfast cereal. What would you be? What a fucking terrible question. God.
You know what? You were just getting started.
You know, we all start off a little wobbly. Oh Lord. Changing law. Let me think about this for a sec.
Is there anything that just drives you nuts where you're just like, why is that a law? You got to have some political somewhere.
I do. I mean, and I just because I've gone through this recently, I guess I've been told that I am a libertarian. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think that, let me give kind of a larger picture answer to that. I think that there are laws, and perhaps all laws should be revisited and reassessed on occasion, because there are certain laws that are put in place to, in the best cases, create the greatest good for the greatest number of people in circumstances that then change. So, for instance, you know, I'm building a barrel sauna, and it's relatively small. It looks like a gigantic wine barrel, effectively, based on plans that were given to me by Rick Rubin, who got them from Laird Hamilton. It's an incredible setup, surprisingly inexpensive. And to put that on my own property, out of view of any neighbors, was just like trying to broker a fucking peace treaty between like North and
Why
South
did you
Korea.
tell your neighbors?
What's that?
Why did you tell your neighbors?
No. It has nothing to do with my neighbors. It has everything to do with just getting city and town permits and all that kind of
just
stuff.
don't do that. Just do it yourself.
Just don't do it. No. You have to do that. It's there are, in any case, this is just one example, but I'm generally a small government guy. I really feel like if you look at, for instance, crises or natural disasters. And this is a conversation I had with Sebastian Junger not too long ago, who wrote a great book called Tribe. It talks about this. In earthquakes, in the Blitz, when London was being bombed during World War II, people develop social structures and rules that keep the peace and assign roles to different types of people and create order amongst themselves. Now, I'm not an anarchist. I'm not saying the government shouldn't exist, but I do think that we've edged too far into a nanny state type of dependency, which is it's not a healthy dependency whatsoever. I think that it's created a stifling environment for certain things, whether it is this barrel sauna or hiring really good non-U.S. citizens to work at your startup.
Right.
And I know a lot of
That's a big
icons
issue.
in
I've run into
Silicon
that
Valley have
so
been
many
working
times.
on it, but it's just like, why is this so hard? It's ludicrous. It is
Yeah.
completely ludicrous. So those are, especially based in a country where the blend of cultures and innovation that we have is directly a consequence of massive immigration.
Right.
It's just outrageous. So, in any case, that's my rant. But if I could change any law, nothing super specific.
The sauna law
pops
is what
up.
you
the
want to
sauna laws. I really need to provide more money to the sauna lobby, I think is what this comes down to.
do a fundraiser for the sauna. Get
Yeah,
sauna
I'm sure I could come
t-shirt.
up with a better answer if I thought more about it.
That's great.
Oh, here's one. I think that it should be easier to for people to, and this is, I'm sure, state by state and not just federal. I think it should be easier for a loved one to take their loved one off of life support or provide ethical euthanasia in cases where that has been sort of prearranged.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the state should have a say in that. I think that if that is something that has been documented and agreed upon beforehand, I think that should be an option in more circumstances.
Yeah. Sucks to see people suffer.
Yeah.
All right. What's my question?
Your question. These are pretty short ones. What is the book or books that you've gifted most to other people?
Number one would be Miracle of Mindfulness. Have you?
That's Thich Nhat Hanh.
That's right.
Yep.
Have you ever read that book?
Great book.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it was the one that really got me into mindfulness and really applying it to kind of everyday life. There's a story in there where he talks about washing the dishes to wash the dishes.
Yeah, instead of thinking about, I think it's the plum that you're going to eat after the dishes.
Right, exactly.
It's such a good anecdote, though, because
I know.
And the point being, like, if you're thinking about the plum when you're washing the dishes, when you're eating the plum, you're going to be thinking about your fucking email or whatever it is.
Right. So his whole thing is, I mean, we should be in the moment and focusing on the task at hand, putting our full attention on that and really living that moment. And this is just a great, really short read. You can pick it up on Amazon for like $12. It's not an expensive book. And it's one of my favorite when it comes to mindfulness.
What's second place?
Oh, gosh. Just because of doing the whole social internet thing in the early days, I would say that Wisdom of Crowds was a big one for me. That meant a lot to me, and there's still some great little tidbits in there. Gosh, I'd have to think outside of that.
Green Eggs and Ham.
Green Eggs and Ham. I think those are probably my top two.
Fantastic. Since I gave a long-winded answer, I'm going to give you some airtime. I'll ask another question. Recent purchase, doesn't have to be recent, of $100 or less that has positively impacted your life. Or any purchase of $100 or less that had a significant positive effect on your life.
I hate to plug my other podcast, but on episode number 2, I went out and of the journal, I went out and interviewed this guy that is a master of pens. Like, he just knows more about pens than we do about anything else on earth. Mm-hmm. And he recommended like 3 pens that have the absolute best rollerball pen, the best fountain pen, and these are all like $4 pens.
Okay.
Some of them are really hard to find. Some of them like you can only find in Japan. And
that's convenient.
No, but like you can find them online, but they're just harder to find. And I swapped out my entire stock of pens at the office at my desk with these cheap little $3 or $4 pens, and they're amazing. So,
do you recall the names of any?
Yes, I can put them in your show notes. I will get his top 3, and they'll be there in the show notes.
All right, we'll put these in the show notes, guys. 4hourworkweek.com/podcast, and you can find show notes for this and all the other episodes.
But that's just like, I think that for me represents kind of who I am as a person, in that I like to, and you know this about me, I like to geek out on something and go really, really, really deep. Yep. And you think you're like this too.
I'm like this too, definitely.
Like, you find something that you're into, and I'm like, really? There's a better pen? Tell me more, And he's like, end up having a 30 or 40 minute podcast about notebooks and pens. And I'm like, well, that was super geeky, and I don't know if anyone will like it, but I have some awesome notebooks now, So that's kind of what I like to do.
I dig pens. I have a bit of a pen fetish myself, so this is right up my alley.
The next question for you. All right. What is one body experiment you wish you didn't do?
One physical experiment that I wish I didn't, that I did not partake in.
You can't mention the double circumcision.
I can't mention the double circumcision. I'm sorry I did that to Toaster. I do regret that. Sorry, Toasty.
He's sleeping.
Yeah, all right. He's
still in pain.
Good boy. The one that comes to mind is... all right, so I was in Cape Town, South Africa, doing research related to a number of chapters in the 4-Hour Body. I was getting muscle biopsies, which involves having something the size of a large pen stabbed into the side of your leg to cut muscle tissue out. Not super comfy. That one I don't regret. That got me a lot of really interesting enzymatic information related to endurance and so on. And also muscle fiber analysis, which was really fascinating. I was at the Sports Science Institute of South Africa, and Dr. Timothy Noakes is there. Brilliant guy, incredibly well-versed in the worlds of ultra endurance and hydration, or lack thereof, and how the body responds to different states of hydration and performance implications. I wanted to do a very I should say, well-known, well-established running test. It's going to be an endurance test, which I'm not known for to start with. And I decided that I could use every advantage possible, and I had read in a number of places that resveratrol, which most people associate with longevity, which is the excuse,
red wine compound.
excuse they use to drink red wine, whereas in reality you'd have to have like 72 cases a day to get sort of the therapeutic dose used in clinicals, something absurd like that. Resveratrol also has apparently some incredible implications for endurance. And I remember seeing this video. I believe it was Super Rat. So there was like normal rat and then Super Rat running on a treadmill. I want to say this is David Sinclair, perhaps, who did. And
they gave Super Rat resveratrol.
And its endurance like doubled. It was just, its runtime to exhaustion doubled or something just obscene like that. And I said, okay, well, let me look at the research, figure out the dosing they used on the rats,
Oh my God.
the milligrams per kilogram. And then
Oh my God, you ratted yourself.
And then I ordered like 5 months worth of resveratrol, like multiple bottles, and consumed, don't do this at home, kids, consumed all of the bottles because I had to consume something like 120 capsules to get the proper milligrams per kilogram. Now,
why would you do this?
Well,
This is dumb.
there are a couple of issues here, folks. For those of you who haven't realized this is dumb yet, I couldn't figure out a way to expediently, if that's the right word, expeditiously perhaps, have this administered through injection, which is almost certainly how it was given to these rats because they didn't feed the rats like resveratrol chow, I'm pretty sure. So they most likely injected it intramuscularly or intravenously. I didn't have that as an option, so I did it orally. Well, there are a bunch of issues that come up here. Now, I'll just flash forward and give you guys a snapshot, then I'll explain what happened. So I'm sitting there in this meeting, and I wish I could remember this guy's name. He was such a serious, brilliant, hilarious guy. I want to say it was Tertius. Just a fantastic name. And he's sitting there and he's like, I'm not going to try to do a South African accent. I wish I could. But he's like, what you have to understand here, you know, and he's like explaining this very, very seriously to me. And it's like a 10-minute kind of intro to what I'm about to do. And out of nowhere, I just start sweating fucking bullets, like cold sweat.
How many pills had you taken at this point?
Oh, I had all of them, like a half hour
120?
beforehand. Yeah, I had like 90 or 120
you were
capsules.
drinking like 10 at a time, like just kind of gulping them down.
Oh, yeah. I'm really good at swallowing pills. So I get this profuse cold sweat, like out of nowhere, click. It's just like pouring down my face. And he's giving me this very serious speech, and I'm trying to pay attention. I'm like blinking because the sweat's coming into my eyes, and he's like, are you okay? And
I need a hamster wheel stat.
And I was like, do you have a bathroom nearby? And he's like, sure. And he points me down the hallway. And I kind of do like the butt squeeze waddle down the hallway and do like a reverse broad jump through the stall and just stay there for the next 45 minutes. So what I didn't realize, what was not listed in the ingredient list on these pills is, and I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right, there was something used as a filler called Imodin, and Imodin acts as a laxative. Yeah, no, I think it was Imodin, and I was just a disaster. So needless to say, completely killed my endurance. I did the running test. It was 10 times worse than it would have been if I had not swallowed 120 pills.
You probably like lost a ton of water.
Oh, it was a complete disaster. So that was.
You're lucky you didn't like have some crazy horrible side effect, like you know.
I mean, look, I don't recommend mimicking that behavior, but to the extent possible, I did do my homework. I read a lot on PubMed. I knew that there was a risk that I would have GI distress. I just didn't know that it would be like
that severe.
Yeah, Exorcist like style, but out the other end type of issue. So live and learn. I saw a T-shirt. I was walking around here. We're in New York City right now. And I saw this shirt that said "Bad decisions make good stories." So I guess this is one of those examples.
There you go.
What advice would you give to your 20 or 25-year-old self? You can choose which, and place us like where you are and what you're doing.
I don't know whether I should go 20 or 25. Okay, let's go 25.
All right.
So right around that time was let's just place it right around when I was creating Dig for the first time and created that site. and that kind of exploded and got a bunch of users, and we grew that company to a pretty decent size. The issue, though, was at that age, I had just really, I was still really immature. I just, and my biggest issue, and what I would sit down with my younger self, I would say to that person would be to seek out mentors and to stop acting like you know it all. And that when I didn't know something, I refused to learn it because I wanted to focus on what I already knew I was good at. And so I was really good at the kind of creative side and coming up with like new feature ideas and product ideas and things like that. But when it came down to hiring a staff or interviewing folks or just all the other pieces of a business that you have to learn in order to succeed, I just didn't have any of that. And rather than admit that I didn't know it, I kind of just turned a blind eye to it, and that caused a lot of problems later. For me, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to focus on this small little domain and hire other people to take over my kind of weak spots. And I just, first of all, didn't even know how to hire the right folks. And we hired some great people, don't get me wrong, but I kind of gave the keys to the castle to folks rather than taking on the hard work, which was admitting that I didn't know these things and putting in the time and effort to become proficient in them. So that's probably what I'd go back to that 25-year-old self is say, it's a lot of the stuff that I'm still learning today. It's like now as probably a fourth or fifth time entrepreneur having a startup, it's like I'm putting a lot of time and effort. I feel like I'm mature enough now. And granted, I'm almost 40, but it's finally if I don't know something, I immediately go and say, okay, who's the smartest person in the room, or who can point me in the right direction so that I can go and get schooled up on this. Because it's important. You can't just, shuffle that stuff to the side and kind of let an ego get in the way when it shouldn't be. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, the sort of short-term ego pain prevents the long-term sort of catastrophic pain.
Right. Exactly. And it only happens once, right? You have that small little bash to your ego for 10 minutes while you get introduced to the right folks and you admit that you don't know something. And then guess what? That never comes up again because you can go and get schooled up on that. And
so that's good advice. What is the worst advice that you hear being thrown around for startup founders or to startup founders? What is some bad advice that's given frequently, do you think?
Some bad advice that is given frequently to startup founders.
Or just bad advice in general. Something you think is bad advice that you hear a lot.
Well, certainly I know that I've seen many startups that they believe that when they have a little bit of traction, now is the time to go raise a bunch of capital and just spend into that and hope for the best. And oftentimes you see a lot of bloat created and a lot of extra pressure to hit certain milestones that don't make sense and then cause you to make kind of really bad short-term decisions for the business to bring in revenue when it's really not going to help you out in the long term. So, I think there's a bunch of examples I could give here, and I don't want to pick on any one individual company. But that said, let me pick on one company. No, but
that's like when people are like, I don't want to be an asshole, but that usually means they're immediately going to be an asshole.
Yeah, I know. There's that great Onion article that says devil's advocate turns out to be just big asshole. I love that article. It's so true.
I heard this, side note, I heard this comedian say, when someone says, I'm a taxpayer, it means they're about to be an asshole.
Totally. So, I think a great example of this is like, a company like, and I've seen this happen to a dozen different companies, but a company like Fab.com, I was an angel investor there. brilliant, great founder, great seed of an idea, actually a great pivot from the site they were before into kind of very design-oriented e-commerce play. Had a great following, was doing, their conversions on these little flash sales that we're doing were working quite well. Went out, raised several monster rounds, hired up a bunch of employees, and just like really spent into this business and blew through a bunch of capital. And then when that novelty kind of wore off, the business went away. That said, I think that growing thoughtfully and in line and in track and in parallel with your revenue and being a little bit more responsible around that, and not going crazy on the kind of over raising capital and spending too much cash up front makes a lot of sense. And I think that we're getting better at that as an industry. I think there's been enough fires now that people can see that's not the wisest way to go. That said, we still see things like Uber and others that are just raising monster amounts of cash. But the good news is that they have real revenue to back it up.
Yep.
I think this was very much a thing when you don't have the revenue and you're going and doing this, it's a bad decision.
Yeah, there's also, I mean, if we're looking at, say, Fab versus Uber, right? The Fab example is very different in the respect also that it's not necessarily a winner-take-all market where they have to dominate, say, a city or a country or a continent to become the de facto choice for, say, ride sharing, where there are certain network effects or marketplace dynamics, at least, where if they have the most drivers, then they'll have the most riders because the riders want to have the fastest pickup time. If they have the most riders, then they will be able to recruit the most drivers, et cetera. So that it's a virtuous cycle for the person who owns the most market share on both sides of that equation.
Yeah,
but in a Fab case or many cases like it, people just want to, and I think, I mean, I don't want to take us necessarily down this rabbit hole, but there are a lot of perverse incentives at play. And there are always perverse incentives, but particularly perverse incentives at play in an environment like we are either just coming out of or still in, wherein and there are many people who disagree with this, and I don't have issues with smaller examples, but there are startups that are on their way to failure. The founders know, and they take a ton of money off the table. The employees see nothing, and then it just craters.
Right.
And that is a byproduct of being able to raise these monster rounds in part, riding momentum of eyeballs and so on, as opposed to revenue.
Right.
Well, I think that's, I mean, one of the reasons that I just kind of got dismayed and disillusioned with a lot of the exchanges. I wouldn't even call them, because it's certainly not long-term relationship building, but a lot of the sort of transactional exchanges that happen in that startup ecosystem.
Yeah, there's a lot of positives to taking venture capital. One of the negatives is that the founders are pushed to build a bigger and bigger business. And so, I think that if you go out and so for example, when I first launched Dig, I launched it as just a tech-only news site. And it quickly became the largest tech news site in the world. Like, there was no doubt we had more traffic than at the time it was like CNET's site, like CNET was big, and a couple of their blogs. But when a certain amount of dollars came to the table, it was like, hey, we love what you're doing with Dig as a tech site. Why don't you go into world news and politics and, science and all these other categories? And so we did that. And then it was like, well, you know what? That's great. And you have 38 million people a month coming to your site. But wouldn't it be great if you could get to 50 or 100 million people coming to your site per month? So why don't you expand into something that, my mom would like to use, and embrace some of the traditional news sites and help them promote their content and things that just weren't naturally organic in our DNA. Yep. And I think that is the danger there. And that's where, if a Fab had stayed small, if a Dig had stayed small, if some of these other sites had just really focused on their core and stayed true to their DNA, they wouldn't be forced to make these unnatural decisions that eventually lead to them being not really servicing their audience, their core audience.
Now, in fairness, though, I'll play devil's advocate / asshole here, which is, if you sign up for taking venture capital,
sure,
you have to understand the economics of venture capital, which mean they need you to grow, right? Because they in turn have their bosses who are the LPs, and they have a fiduciary responsibility to try to generate whatever it is, a 10x, 100x return for a few startups, because the rest are going to be dogs or dead or zombies, right?
And I think that's where, as a founder, as Kevin, the 25-year-old founder versus where I am today, the difference is that the 25-year-old Kevin would have taken that as gospel, in that they're like, hey, you should go do X, Y, and Z. Okay, I'm going to go do that. It sounds great. You guys have been down this road before. The Kevin today would say, thank you very much, trusted advisor, as you are, as like if they have a seat at the board or something like that. And take that into consideration, because oftentimes it is great advice. And, 8 times out of 10, you're going to agree with them. But there's that couple times there where you're going to say, that doesn't make sense for my business, and say, I respect you and your idea, but we're not going to do that. That's just not, and they can't force your hand to that unless they have control of the board, in which case you get yourself in a really
whole separate conversation.
Whole separate conversation there. All right. I have 2 more questions for you.
Let's do it.
First one, 2 rapid fires. Biggest misconception people have about you?
That I have an issue with hard work. I don't have an issue with hard work. I have an issue with hard work applied to stupid things. So you should focus on being effective, picking the right things to do before you focus on being efficient, which is doing things well.
Do you really only work 4 hours a week?
Oh, God. Here's the reality. You know this. You're just like, I know you're like verbally just fucking tickling my balls to make me uncomfortable. The fact of the matter is, and you know this, I don't have to work at all if I don't want to work. Right? It's like that is not the driver for me at this point in my life.
I was just joking. You don't have to answer this question. I know
God damn it. I'm not allowed to have booze right now. I could use some booze, but I'm not going to do it for reasons I can't discuss. Top secret. Continue.
Okay, next question. This is a very serious question, and I don't know if you'll like this question, actually.
This is very serious, and I dislike it. My favorite type of question already.
But I think that other people out there, if I didn't know you as well as I know you, I'd be curious about this. Okay,
the rumors about my 21-inch cock are all true.
There you go.
I can't even blame it on the booze. I haven't had any. I guess I'm just.
You're 39.
39, dirty old man.
39, is that right?
No, I'm 38.
38, sorry. That's
Jesus.
right. You're 1 year behind me.
Early Alzheimer's at my own age, too.
So, you're not married yet.
I'm not.
I've known you for quite a while now, and I've seen you through a handful of relationships. But for those that don't know you, what do you look for in a woman, and what's like your take on dating? I'm curious. Like, who dates Tim Ferriss? Like, what do you look for?
Masochistic, ill-advised women. I know that's not true. I'm joking. What do I look for? Well, I'll tell you. What I'm looking for is a half Japanese, half Italian, bisexual architect, super athlete, part-time swimsuit model.
You're not joking either. That's the funny part. I know you well enough to know that like you're joking for the podcast, but you're really not joking.
Who knows how to squat with at least body weight.
This is actually what you're looking for.
Well, I'll put it this way. I wouldn't mind that. That sounds like very enjoyable conversation. What do I look for in a woman? I look for. I think it's it's generally what I look for in a human being. Right?
Do you want someone that can kick your ass though? Like, do you have to meet someone like you're a hardcore person?
Yeah,
I would say to all my friends, like you are like, even though you can relax and you meditate and all that stuff, but you're very into shit and take stuff very seriously.
Yeah, I'm hardcore about a lot of things, and I can be hard around the edges. So. These are characteristics that I don't know if I could fix, and I'm not sure I want to fix them because I've seen so many benefits from them. I mean, they've been useful tools. So I will tell you, I've dated women who are very, very feminine and yin. I mean, very kind of swirling in emotional range and very nurturing. And I've also dated women who are extremely tough and make me want to be more resilient, less reactive, hyper driven. And both of those can work for me. I think what is important is that you can have someone who is driven and tough like that, who doesn't feel the need to constantly butt heads to assert being an alpha. That is something I can't have in a relationship because I'm already that way. You can't have two of those in one room.
Right.
It's like, what are they called? They're like Chinese fighting fish. You put them in a bowl and they just fucking kill each other. Like you can't, that in a dynamic doesn't work, right? Whether it's a, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever sexual relationship, there has to be a complement of personality traits and strengths and weaknesses. I could go down a long list. What do you want me to focus on?
I'm just curious, like, what it is that you're looking for now, and like we don't have to go. What's that? Yeah, I think that was a good answer.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. There's a big part of me. I not too long ago got out of a very long, very serious, fantastic relationship that I reflect on a lot, but ultimately, I wasn't sure what I was looking for in my life as it relates to family and or marriage. And that led to an indecision that was unfair, level of indecision that was unfair to my partner at the time. Mm-hmm. And so when you ask me, what are you looking for? Part of me wants to say, I don't know. Like, I know what I can't stand. I can tell you that. But what I might look for in person that I'm envisioning as the mother of several kids of mine is very different from what I envision, say, if I'm considering that my life might be a combination of different women or a lack of marriage entirely, but having, say, maybe I have a wife and then a mistress. Maybe I have who's like they both know each other. Or maybe I have two wives. Maybe I have a Raise the Red Lantern situation with like 6 wives. Sounds like a huge headache on a lot of levels to me personally, but or maybe it's a series of very intimate lovers that I stay in touch with. I don't know, honestly. It's a big question mark to me. And for the time being, I'm spending time with people, and this includes women, and I think these are very important, who I respect a lot. So whether they are super hardcore and driven or just very good at what they do, but extremely soft and able to counterbalance some of my like hard-edged, steely attributes, which can be really damaging in excess. Like I need someone to help temper that. I respect them because they're good at what they do. I enjoy spending time with them because I learn from them. They don't take themselves too seriously, so they can laugh at themselves. They take care of themselves physically. I mean, for most of my friends, that's a criteria that's one of the criteria as well. Like I want to be averaged up in all ways possible by the people I surround myself with. So even if I have some friends who might not take care of themselves physically, I need at least a few close friends who do, because if I'm the average of the 5 people I associate with most, well, shit, I need to be very careful about how I kind of allocate those interactions, right? What else? I like really nice hamstrings. I like big brown eyes, little brown ankles, as one friend would put it.
Little brown ankles.
Big brown eyes, little brown ankles. That's how he describes the type of woman he likes. I like generally long hair, but I can think of an exception to all these things. That's the thing. People are like, oh, what's your type? And I'm like, I don't like super hot and smart and funny. I don't know. Like color doesn't matter to me. In terms of like short hair, long hair, I don't like tattoos, no tattoos, piercing, no piercings. Like I've dated every possible permutation of those. So I don't know what to tell you. I love women, period. And I'm not sure what to do about that. I think that's part of the challenge that I'm having.
Yeah, but that was a great answer.
I think that's all we got. Well, how should we close out? Do you have any parting thoughts, recommendations, reflections?
Yes, I do. In fact, sign up for my newsletter, thejournal.email on the internet. And I send out once a month newsletter of all my kind of crazy, chaotic stuff and gear and tech stuff that I'm checking out. That also has a podcast on iTunes. And then also, I think virtual reality sucks. I tried the HTC and it's stupid.
So I think you're going to lose. I think you're going to lose this bet.
You sent out a tweet saying virtual reality has blown my mind. I now see the light. I saw that tweet from you 3 months ago.
Yeah, I don't take it back. I stand by it.
So dumb. Virtual reality is so dumb.
All right.
Did you try the HTC one where you put it on your head?
I tried the Vive with
the Vive. Yeah, that's
I think it was
at
Valve
Adam's Lab.
With what was that?
At Adam's Lab.
No, different lab.
Okay.
With Valve software running on it.
And you were really
demos.
that blown away?
I was very impressed. Maybe I can just have better long-term vision than you do. Maybe I can see the potential.
No. This is one of those things where it's a hype cycle in Silicon Valley, and sadly, the benefit to the consumer has to be an order of magnitude better than what they're already experiencing for it to ever get adopted, and that comes on both a couple fronts. One, on the application front, in that they have to enjoy it at least 10x or greater, and then it also comes on the comfort and wearability and maintenance and setup and everything else that goes with owning a virtual reality system. And sadly, we're all going to realize that it's much like the Wii, and it was fun for the first 5 games of Wii bowling that I played, but then guess what? It ends up in a drawer, just like 3D TV.
Well, here's what I think you're going to miss, though. Here's what I think you're missing. And Daria is giving the hands up. I don't know what you're talking about.
What was Twilight Princess? Yeah, Zelda on Wii was great.
So here's the difference if we're looking at purely the entertainment applications, say restricted to video games, is that the Wii required entirely new types of games to be created, which basically were reminiscent of early Nintendo sports games. I mean, they're very different from the games that are currently blockbusters. But what if you take virtual reality and simply use that to enhance the most popular first-person shooter games and Call of Duty and so forth, which I don't think is that much of a stretch. I don't think that's a hard sell. I think that is substantially better than what is currently available.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think it's a pretty I would say there's a couple different camps in the virtual reality space. There's one that thinks it's going to be accessory for gaming, and there's the other one that says it's like we're going to be watching movies like that. We're going to sit around watching the Super Bowl. You know, everyone will have one. We're at a Super Bowl party. We're just like wearing headsets and trying to cram freaking nachos underneath the mask. Like that's a real thing. People are saying that kind of stuff, and I believe that the maintenance and setup, and it's just really difficult. You know,
see,
it's
I don't see the Super Bowl soon. I don't see that type of interaction happening because you're sacrificing an element. I mean, look, we could all watch the freaking Super Bowl at home by ourselves, but we go to a Super Bowl party. Why do we go to a Super Bowl party? Why do we go to a movie theater? Like, there's a communal aspect to it, and there are elements of that experience that are not fully accounted for when I think someone brings up the example of the Super Bowl party and using it so that you can like stand in the middle of the field and have a fucking crazy 300-pound guy charge at you. Like, oh yeah, that sounds like fun. Maybe there are permutations on that I think could work. But with something like Call of Duty, where you're like sitting in a basement in your underwear playing it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think the setup costs. I think that is an example. Where do you think in that case, let's say it is a hype cycle. Mm-hmm. What does the landscape of VR look like in 3 years, 5 years? Has it just been abandoned?
Well, I think there's obviously a lot of money is going into game development and app development right now for in VR, like, you know, tens of, if not hundreds of millions of dollars from some of the top companies. But it's one of those things where if consumers don't demand this hardware and it doesn't sell through, then those funds are going to quickly dry up. It's a very much chicken and egg thing because you need original content, original experiences, like more so than just, a flying whale coming by your head that's in a 30-second demo. Like you need real content that was developed for VR, which is expensive to create. And so, it's a chicken and egg thing, but you need a hell of a lot of eggs. Like, you need a lot of great games, because if you get in there and you have a mediocre experience, or just like, my buddy doesn't, I don't have 2 headsets, we can't play co-op. You know, there's 1,000 different use cases where I could describe it, where it ends up frustrating the gamer and they just set it in the corner and they go back to the way things were. And this has been tried time and time again. I mean, this isn't the first type of, I mean, I had a Nintendo Power Glove back in the day where I put my hand in the glove and I tried to do different things with it. Do you remember that thing?
I do remember
the
it.
little keyboard on the side of it. Like, we've tried these like devices to kind of augment our gaming experiences, and yet we all still come back to the standard controller. Because it's easy, because I can toss you one, because we can sit there, we can drink a beer while we're doing it. Like, there's 1,000 different little things that you can do that you can't do with these big-ass headsets on. And you need a dedicated room if you're going to walk around with them. You know, like, if you're bumping into furniture and shit. Like, it just, there's so many hurdles to get over here. I just think that those hurdles are going to be a little too high. I will say one thing, one little caveat here. Augmented reality is very much different than virtual reality, and that I still think the jury's out. I'm talking about where you put on a pair of glasses that allow you to project, at least back into your eye, the idea of there being little living creatures and different things crawling around your furniture. And if you've seen some of this,
I have. They scare the shit out of me.
it scares the shit out of me. That is
But
cool
I mean,
enough.
it's not just that. It's like overlaying things onto reality as you visually experience
That's
it
right.
today.
That's right. So that I haven't written off yet, but this idea of virtual reality, and granted, like I'll be the first to admit I'm wrong if 2 years from now this is not the case, but I just have this gut feeling, and sometimes I like to be a little bit different than everybody else.
Stir the pot.
Yeah, stir the pot.
You have a bet riding on this, do you not?
On virtual reality failing?
Yeah. Don't you
I
have
haven't shorted Facebook or anything.
No, do you have a, don't you have
with
a,
Adam, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm betting a neuroscience friend of ours. He's
Very well known.
He's on your podcast.
Yeah.
He
Adam
is-
Ghazali.
He has drank the Kool-Aid. He's poured the Kool-Aid in the water, mixed it, and drank it. Like,
Now,
he's
just as
hardcore.
context, this is one of the, well, Daria used to work with Adam. It's fair to say, like, one of the preeminent neuroscientists in the world. MD, PhD, studies gaming, has developed game, has a lab at UCSF, one of the best regarded in the country, certainly.
But
with
what does that- what
How
does
many
that-
people? 50 people? No. Something like that. So, I mean, this isn't like a homeless guy on the corner of the sandwich board saying VR is coming. I mean, this is you have a qualified
No,
opponent
I get
here.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that he is a good opponent. He's not a technologist. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a neuroscientist, and he has a dedicated big ass room for virtual reality.
Yeah.
So when he goes and plays in virtual reality, and I've been in his lab and I've played with his equipment, it is quite fun. But he has a big ass room that he gets to. Not everyone has that room. I don't have that room here in New York. It's a different environment when. No, not yet.
Yeah, but how specific are your criteria for success or failure, right? So for me,
It's very loose.
It's like if there are fucking rooms all over a given city and then in every city where people can go experience virtual reality, that seems like virtual reality at least is gaining a foothold. I mean, that would be some measure of success.
I think that virtual reality as a form of like laser tag could be really interesting, because I actually saw that a week ago and it looked pretty fascinating, where it had 10 people in a room, they're all wearing headsets, they could see each other in the virtual world, monsters would appear, they could run around corners, they could shoot them, things like that. But that's just Scandia fun. That's like mini golf. Like that's going to be
Scandia?
Scandia's a thing on the West Coast. It's like a mini golf course.
Oh, all right.
Where you go and like ride go-karts and play mini golf. Like that's the kind of fun that is. I think that what Adam's talking about is really this in almost every home, and it being kind of a fixture of your household.
See, I think you're overweighting the entire room experience, which is definitely an enhancement and an improvement over the stationary experience. But I could see people with immersive sound systems in the headsets themselves. So you have surround sound, using the headset in conjunction with the controller and having an incredible virtual reality experience.
We'll see, dude. So I'll tell you a story that I probably shouldn't tell, and I think I've mentioned it at one point somewhere, but I was at Google, and I went to Google X, which is very kind of limited access. Google X is where they do all the crazy top secret experiments, all that. I went in there and they had Google Glass, and this is before they announced it. This was this prototype. Everyone's seen this.
I remember.
It sits in your head. It has a little thing. And I somehow talked the Glass team into giving me one of the first prototypes outside of the team. So we had, I got probably one of the first 10 units, and they gave it to me. I had the beta software on it. I had it hooked up to my Android phone. I could see all my text notifications. I could see, it was like the coolest thing if you're in Silicon Valley to have back then, because no one had one. I wore it to a party one time. It was stupid.
Oh, I remember. I mean, a friend of ours showed up at South by Southwest with Google Glass on, and it was just like nerd magnet. Just throngs of people surrounding her everywhere she went.
And so, as my wife will tell you, I had mine for 2 weeks, something like that, less than that. And I gave it back to the Glass team. And they were like, what the fuck? Everybody wants one of these. Why are you turning this in? They expected me to have it for the next 3 months and install all the beta software. And I'm just like, no one's going to use this. It's too dorky. It's yet another thing I have to charge, which we don't need more of those in our life. And it's heavy, it's bulky, the screen display. I just didn't understand it. And, that was kind of my gut consumer product person's take on it. And I ended up just abandoning it. And I feel the same way about virtual reality.
Yeah, only time will tell. I don't think it'll take that much time either. I mean, I think there's so many big announcements and launches coming up soon that, within the next year to 18 months, I feel like we should have a pretty good idea of what's going to fly or not fly.
Oh,
what is at stake?
What's at stake in the bet is a bottle
your
of
bet with Adam.
Hibiki. Was it 30 year? Yeah, it requires a trip to Japan to buy a bottle of Hibiki 30-year aged whiskey, which is you can't find in the United States. They don't import it to the United States. That's the bet between the two of us.
That's a good bet.
It's a good bet. It's a win-win because I'm going to help him drink some of it. I have to give it to him. But it should be fun. It's going to be. I think that even if I lose the bet, I'll be actually pretty impressed and happy, because if they come out with a few titles where I'm just blown away, I'll be the first to say, you know what, this is going to take off. But I don't know. My gut doesn't tell me so.
The jury's out.
We'll see.
All right. Well, another random show on the books, and. You already mentioned the journal. I will tell people, check out the T-shirts. I've never done T-shirts before, and 100% of the proceeds are going to psychedelic research, most likely psilocybin at top universities. I'm not making anything from it whatsoever. Everything is going to most likely senior scientists who are working on very, very fascinating applications of compounds that have been neglected that can address potentially some extremely debilitating conditions that have very few options otherwise that have panned out, medically speaking. So check out the shirts.
If you like the shirts, American Apparel?
What's that?
American Apparel shirts?
I'd have to look. I went through...
Is it cotton or blend?
Most likely a blend.
10%
I went through all of my own T-shirts and picked out the most comfortable.
Yeah.
And the designs that I liked, and sat down with a sourcing team and looked at how to make the most comfortable shirts possible. So I'm test driving the prototypes.
They're not
right now.
made from mushrooms,
they're not made from mushrooms. They don't disintegrate. You don't take a shower with them and sprout anything.
You could grind them up and
grind them up and eat them. That would be pretty amazing, but no, sadly. 4-Hour Work Week. 4hourworkweek.com/mushroom. Check them out. And you can find us on the Twitters if you have anything to correct or to say or to add. And I feel like that's about it.
That's it. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. And you can find show notes, links to various things that we have mentioned at 4hourworkweek.com/podcast, as well as show notes for every other episode and the episodes themselves. And until next time.
See ya.
Thanks for sticking around. Hey guys, this is Tim again. Just a few more things before you take off. Number one, This is 5 Bullet Friday. Do you want to get a short email from me? Would you enjoy getting a short email from me every Friday that provides a little morsel of fun before the weekend? And 5 Bullet Friday is a very short email where I share the coolest things I've found or that I've been pondering over the week. That could include favorite new albums that I've discovered. It could include gizmos and gadgets and all sorts of weird shit that I've somehow dug up in the world of the esoteric as I do. It could include favorite articles that I've read and that I've shared with my close friends, for instance. And it's very short. It's just a little tiny bite of goodness before you head off for the weekend. So if you want to receive that, check it out. Just go to 4hourworkweek.com. That's 4hourworkweek.com, all spelled out, and just drop in your email and you will get the very next one. And if you sign up, I hope you enjoy it.